Surprise medical bills. They're not fun and have caught many of us off guard with just how much they can charge for crazy things. They're also one of the primary reasons for bankruptcy filings. A Colorado judge recently ruled against Centura Health after they charged a woman more than $300,000 when she was only expecting to pay a little more than $1,000. 9 News legal analyst Whitney Traylor joins us in studio to talk about your rights related to medical billing. This is no surprise to me, and this is a conversation so many people have. So first, let's talk about the lawsuit and then why the judge ruled against Centura Health. Yeah, so the lawsuit started when the woman went in for a surgery, a number of surgeries. It wasn't an emergency, and she was quoted at about $1,300. But what happened was Centura Health, or it was St. Anthony's north of Centura Health, it was a comedy of errors. They misread her insurance card. They quoted her a price when her doctors were out of network, and so it ended up, they quoted her as $1,300 and it ended up charging her almost $300,000, and so she lost at the trial court, and or won at the trial court. The Court of Appeals reversed it, but here the Supreme Court just said the issue in that case was looking at the contract, and there was a little phrase that said all charges due. So even though they didn't have an itemized list of the charges, that one phrase was what the court kind of centered on. And here the court said, no, you have to give a more detailed analysis identifying the charges. So she won. Centura Health was not able to recover that money. Yeah, you got to break it down. You're going to charge $300 for a Band-Aid. We want to know. We want to know, exactly. Okay. So there's been federal legislation and legislation here in Colorado that really is attempting to stop this crazy surprise medical billing. Talk a little bit about that. Yeah, this year, actually, January 1st, the federal and state law, Colorado's one of about 5 states that have laws that sort of try to prevent this surprise billing, is what it's called. But in that situation, it's mostly dealing with emergency situations. So if you go to, you have an ambulance, you go to the emergency room, and you have insurance, but you go to an emergency room that's not your provider. Well, what they'll do is the insurance company will pay a certain amount, and then they'll try and recover the rest from you. The no surprise billing says, no, you will be charged the same in-network price, even if you're out of network. So it's a great law, but it really only deals with the emergency situations. So there's still times that people, like in this case, they'll get a surgery. It's not an emergency situation. Not everybody's in their network, and so there could be extra charges like the anesthesiologist and things like that. And sometimes one of them can be out of network and one is in network, and that's where it causes a lot of problems. That's right. So what can viewers do to protect themselves from this surprise medical billing? It's a great question. So the first thing is actually look at the document, because a lot of times we're just getting the explanation of benefits. That's not actually the itemized charges. So check with that. If you're going to get a procedure and you have time to kind of vet it out. Correct. Yeah. Then you want to check with all of the different providers, the anesthesiologist, the aides, the surgeon, all of them, make sure they're in network. And then, of course, if something happens after the fact, if you find out you get surprise bills, then the Colorado Attorney General is a place. They have a consumer protection, the Colorado Division of Insurance, and the federal government has something, I think it's cms.gov. And this is a lot of people. I mean, you mentioned it in the intro, the bankruptcy issue. There's so many people because of medical bills that result in bankruptcy, homelessness, and all kinds of things. So these surprise billing issues are one of the reasons. And so we have the legislation, but there's things that people can do themselves. Yeah, you almost have to be your own advocate on top of it if you can. I mean, sometimes it's hard because if you're going in for an emergency or you call an ambulance, you're like, it's obviously an emergency and you can't figure out, well, this one's in network and this one's not. That's correct. And so the emergency situation is why the law really comes into place and I think is helpful. But there's other things. Sometimes doctors will say, waive your rights under this law and let me try and advocate for you and try and get the in-network prices or what have you. And that can work for folks, but they just have to make sure they understand what the agreement with the doctor or the provider is. Right. Oh, man. Medical stuff. It can be crazy. Whitney, thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it. Good to be here. Happy Friday. Happy Friday.